Hello aspirants, looking at current affairs for 1st January 2017. The news items which we have picked up from the Hindu are these 15. The first news item is Modi thanks people for enduring note ban pain. So this is regarding the announcement which Prime Minister Narendra Modi made on the New Year's Eve, and this was regarding special incentives which have been provided to various sections of the population. First one, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. So Awas, this is regarding housing. So this is housing for all scheme. Housing for all by 2022 is the objective of the government, aim of the government. And under this, a special scheme has been announced right now that there will be an additional interest subvention of 4% on 9 lakh loans and 3% on 12 lakh loans for urban housing. So this is actually majorly an urban housing scheme. He has also announced that for rural housing too, there will be a similar scheme which will be launched soon. So that will be same 3% lower interest rate would be there. Subvention means whatever be the interest rate which has to be paid, this much part would be reduced. So if there's a 12% interest which has to be paid, so 4% would be the interest subvention. So that the government will take care of. So effectively the interest rate would be 12 minus 4, that is 8. So 8% will be the effective interest rate. So that is the meaning of interest subvention. Then the next is regarding Kisan Credit Card Scheme. So under Kisan Credit Cards, Kisan farmers are given credit limit. That credit is like a loan. So loan can be taken, credit can be taken through this card for the farmers various inputs which they need for the farming activities. So this RuPay has also been included under this. So these Kisan Credit Cards will be converted into RuPay cards. So means they can be used as debit cards also. So RuPay, as we have understood till now, that it is the same as Master and Visa. So in the way MasterCard and Visa works, which is the two international payment systems which are in effect and India uses, India's NPCIL, National Payment Corporation of India Limited, has developed RuPay. So this is a payment system which is an Indian payment system. So these payment transactions take place through India. So debit cards generally have either of the 3-4 Visa, MasterCard, or now RuPay also. So this Kisan Credit Cards would be converted into RuPay cards in next 3 months. So this is what the Prime Minister has said right now. So they can even have debit functions taking place effectively. Then the next is regarding the senior citizens. So there will be a guaranteed 8% return on bank deposits up to 7.5 lakh for senior citizens for a period of 10 years. So this is another announcement which was made presently. Then regarding credit flow to the farm sector. So the government has said that the interest cost for 60 days during this period on the existing loans which have been availed by the farmers will be taken care of by the government. The center will bear that cost. So this is another announcement made to ease the pain of the farmers in this demonetization drive. Then next is regarding raising the credit guarantee for small businesses from 1 crore to 2 crores. So this will also be beneficial for the small businesses so that they can take more loans. Then the next announcement is regarding the maternity benefits. So this is Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana. Under that, maternity benefits are provided to pregnant and lactating women. So here also for prenatal care, from presently 4,000 which is provided, the Prime Minister Modi announced that it would increase to 6,000. So this is additional benefit which will be given to all women in all 650 districts in the country. So presently it was working on a pilot basis. Now it has been extended all over and even the amount raised. Then lastly, the Prime Minister has said that there are only 24 lakh Indians out of 100 plus crore Indians who have a declared income of above rupees 10 lakh. So that cannot be actually a fact looking at the society and the number of cars which people have, the houses which they live in. So there is a need for bringing in more transparency and coming forth and declaring true income. So here he has again made that point clear. And two other things which he has been speaking of for long, the Prime Minister has reiterated them again. One is regarding electoral funding reforms. So how election funding, partially funding by the government can take place or full funding, whatever. So here there is a need for reforms. So this will reduce even the amount of black money which goes into elections. So because there is a lot of amount spent on elections. So how this can be taken care of to reduce the monetary aspect here. The government taking the responsibility, how can it be formalized. That is one aspect. And next is regarding simultaneously holding elections to the Lok Sabha and all state legislative assemblies. So these are the two major agendas which the government has and is asking for debate on it, so that this can be taken ahead effectively. Then looking at the images here, this is regarding the PM Awas Yojana. So you can see it has slum redevelopment aspect associated with it, credit linked subsidy which will be provided for credit which is taken for, credit means housing loans which are taken, affordable housing is emphasized on. So these are the major aspects. For economically weaker section category, the individual houses subsidy would be provided here for construction also. So one is for availing them for construction of these houses, which is generally taken up. Then the next is Kisan Credit Card. So this was launched in 1998-99. So this has initially it had a credit limit of 50,000, which presently two majorly banks have this credit limit. So farmers can withdraw any amount up to this credit limit for their farming, and repayment is done only after the crops are harvested. So this is facilitating the farmers, Kisan Credit Card. But then for availing this for withdrawal of this amount credit, they have to go to the bank. So if there's a RuPay card linked to this, then they would not have to go to the banks. Withdrawal can be done directly through, bank correspondence or through ATM machines wherever available. So all that can also be possible. Then the next is regarding Indira Gandhi Matritva Sahyog Yojana. This is the maternity benefit scheme. So it was originally, as it was said, for on pilot basis in few districts. Now it is all over, and from 4,000 it has been increased to 6,000. Then the next news item is, as 33 MLAs defect, BJP forms government in Arunachal Pradesh. So Arunachal Pradesh, the northeastern state, has been seeing lots of flips and flops since 2011. So we'll just look at the background and then we'll come to what has happened presently, so that we get the whole continuity of what's going on. So this is regarding the Arunachal Pradesh crisis. So in 2011 elections, the chief minister was sworn in, was Congress government formed, and chief minister was Nabam Tuki. So he was formed the government in 2011. In 2014, he removed the health and family welfare minister, who was a part of his cabinet, part of his ministry. This is Mr. Pul. Kalikho Pul, so we call him Pul. So this happened in December 2014. So then Mr. Pul, he had his own grievances. So he left the Congress, he became a rebel. And in 2015, when the governor changed, because the government at the center also changed, BJP government came to power. So the governor in Arunachal Pradesh was changed in June 2015. So this Mr. Raj Khova, who became the governor, he preponed the assembly session. So assembly session was scheduled for a date in Jan in 2016, but it was preponed to December 2015, a month before the scheduled date. And in December, the speaker in the Legislative Assembly, who was of course a Congress member. So the norm is that the speaker is always from the ruling party, be it at the center or in the states. So if in the state Congress is in power, then the speaker is from Congress and the deputy speaker is from the opposition. Same goes for even at the center presently too. So this speaker who was there in Arunachal Pradesh Legislative Assembly, he disqualified 14 of the 21 rebel Congress MLAs. So Congress MLAs who had rebelled at that time under the leadership of Mr. Pul, they were disqualified by the speaker. So these 14 out of 21 were disqualified, but the deputy speaker quashed this disqualification. So disqualification on grounds of defection generally is disqualification is in the hands of speaker on grounds of defection. So this speaker's decision was quashed by deputy speaker. So this was a new development taking place, that the deputy speaker does not actually have the power over the powers of the speaker, but this did take place. And on the next day, then the rebel Mr. Pul, he and 33 rebel Congress MLAs held parallel assembly session. So they were not allowed in the assembly, but they had a parallel assembly taking place. And in this, a resolution was passed to remove the speaker, and a new speaker was chosen. So this took place in a parallel makeshift assembly taking place because they were expelled. So they did this, and then on the next day, the rebels voted against Tuki. So the chief minister of Arunachal Pradesh was also voted against, and they elected Pul as the chief minister, the rebel. So the speaker, Mr. Rabia, he moved the Guwahati High Court against this order, against how this takes place in a makeshift assembly. And then in Jan 2016, few days later, the center imposed president's rule in Arunachal Pradesh. And this president's rule went on till Feb 19, when finally president's rule was lifted. And the next day, Mr. Pul, who had joined People's Party of Arunachal Pradesh, he was sworn in as the chief minister. So this was a development which took place. And then in July, when finally the president's ruling came, Supreme Court termed this president rule as unconstitutional and reinstated Mr. Tukey as the chief minister of Arunachal Pradesh. So this development took place in July. Then later, in few days, Tukey resigned. So this Nabam Tukey, because he did not have majority in the house, so he resigned, and few hours ahead of the floor test, because he did not have the majority, the former rebel, much earlier, Mr. Khandu was an earlier rebel in Congress. He was elected as the Congress Legislative Party leader. So Mr. Khandu is the new person coming into the picture in July 2016. He was not in picture till now. Till now the rebel was Mr. Pul and the chief minister was Tukey. So now this Mr. Khandu, who was a former rebel of Congress, he was elected as the Congress Legislative Party leader because Tukey resigned and he was brought in so that at least Congress wins the floor test. That was the objective. The next day he was sworn in and Mr. Khandu took the oath as the chief minister, and Pul and other rebels who were there, they came back to Congress. So this was a development in July. In August, Mr. Pul committed suicide. This rebel committed suicide. September, the governor of Arunachal Pradesh was changed. So this is till September. Now coming to present, 1st Jan 2017 news. So after looking at the background, what has happened presently is that BJP government has been formed in Arunachal Pradesh. Now how did that take place? Because this People's Party of Arunachal, which we heard of, Mr. Pul had joined, who is now dead. So this 43 People's Party of Arunachal Pradesh MLAs, out of these 33 have resigned. They have joined BJP. They are led by, of course, Chief Minister Prem Khandu. So Prem Khandu and the other members, 33 members of this People's Party of Arunachal, because earlier they had joined Congress. They had joined hands with Congress and formed the government in July. But now they have rebelled, moved out of People's Party of Arunachal and joined BJP, and BJP government has been formed in Arunachal Pradesh. So this is the latest development. So they are showing that they have the majority and they want to form the government. So this is the point put forth. They are saying that we are doing this because at the center we have BJP government in power. So this is for the betterment of the state, which has been undergoing this political crisis for more than a year now. So to end it, this is the initiative which we have taken. We have rebelled and left the party and joined BJP. Now this is again defection. What does the term defection basically means needs to be understood. Defection means that you have been elected into the legislature on the basis of one party ticket. As a member of one party, you became a member of the legislature. You won the elections and became member of the legislature. Now after becoming the member of the legislature, you leave that party and join another political party. So this is called defection. This will be defection or not is based on certain criteria, and defection in bulk is actually allowed under the law. Anti-defection law allows defection in bulk. So this is of course a defection in bulk, more than 2/3. So this defection is allowed. So this cannot be called unconstitutional. But you should remember that they had also joined People's Party of Arunachal defecting from Congress. So there is another angle coming to it too. So that matter is still pending before the judiciary. So till the decision on that does not come out, because on the president's rule the ruling came that president's rule in Arunachal Pradesh was unconstitutional, but on this defection still the ruling is to come out. Then their membership to PPA is not sure yet whether it is constitutional or not, legal or not, and they have defected from here to joining BJP. So this is the whole political mess in this whole thing. So this all the developments which took place, PPA had earlier also suspended these members temporarily because of anti-party activities. Now they have left the party itself. So this is the latest. You can see when asked about the court case filed by Arunachal Pradesh Congress Committee President against joining of Congress MLAs with PPA, which is pending with Guwahati High Court, and this decision would come on January 2017 7. then how can they join another political party and leave from the party on which the case is still pending? So that is the whole mess here. So let's wait and watch, we'll hear more about this too, but at least this background is important to have a complete idea on what's going on in Arunachal Pradesh. Then the next news item is Delhi Lieutenant Governor takes charge. So we have heard about a lot about the former Lieutenant Governor in Delhi. So because Delhi has a special status, it is basically a union territory, though it is a national capital territory, but yet it does not have the same powers as a state legislature. Though it has a legislature, there are two union territories which have their own legislature. One is Delhi and another one is Puducherry. So these two legislatures have their legislative assemblies, chief ministers, but then the governor is also there. And for all 7 union territories in India, the territories are administered by the center only. So of course, though the state governments are there, the legislative bodies are there, directly elected from the people, but their powers are limited. So this tussle between the center and the state in these two union territories, and it's not there in Puducherry but in Delhi, which is an important region in the country, and plus Aam Aadmi Party came to power, this tussle has increased manifold and it was difficult for governance to take place. So whole constitutional case also went on, and the judiciary gave its judgment in favor of center having preeminence, because the constitution provides preeminence to the center in cases of governance of union territories. Then there is a rallying point of Arvind Kejriwal, the chief minister of Delhi, that Delhi should become as good as a state. Again, that is controversial because it is the national capital territory, the place where the central government, all the ministries, everything, the judiciary, Supreme Court are situated. So how can that be left to a to a subsidiary and not be under the center? So all these aspects are there. So these are difficult questions which need an easy way out. It actually requires easy functioning, coordinated functioning between the center and the government in power in the union territory, Delhi. So now we have a new lieutenant governor who will be sworn in, and this is who has been sworn in, Anil Baijal. So he is a former IAS officer. So then how will the functioning be is what we have to wait and watch. They have said both that they will work in cooperation and coordination. So let's hope for the best. So what is basically the thing is that the trend presently is that whatever is the party in power in the center should be the party in power in the states as well. So if that takes place, that is a question on federalism in India. So do we want a unitary government in India, or do we have the idea of federalism as a basic structure and a basic feature of Indian polity? So that is what is being questioned. Even the question of simultaneous elections of Lok Sabha and legislative assemblies, there also this question on federalism comes, because if simultaneous elections are held, then people vote for the same party, will vote. That is the most obvious scenario which is seen, that whatever is the party in the center, states should also have the same party so that they can function in tandem. So if that is the kind of scenario which we are looking at, means there should be same political party in all states and at the center as well, then how will federalism function, and how will different constituents in the society be represented? How will their views come forth? How will the majority take over the minority? Is the whole scenario in this matter which needs to be debated and thought on before going ahead on this initiative. So something like that is the whole debate all about. The next news item is Buxar jailbreak. 5 prisoners escape. So this is another jailbreak which has been come forth now. This was again prisoners scaling the wall, and they had used iron rod, pipes and dhoti to undertake this jailbreak, and it is said that even the fog helped them in escaping. But of course this is a serious security lapse, and if such jailbreaks take place, it is a huge question on security and jail management in the country, because Bhopal jailbreak was one major incident which had taken place, apart from the, of course, the encounter which did occur. So this news is in that context highlighted, that jailbreaks taking place in India and how security in jails have to be enhanced. So presently we have the scenario of CCTV cameras. CCTV cameras are there almost in all places. In small shops also it is required that CCTV cameras should be there. So in such a scenario too, where proper security and an eye can be kept on all regions in the jail, how can such jailbreaks take place? That is the question. And whether there is internal assistance being provided to them, all that also needs to be probed, and such incidents should not take place in the future, has to be ensured. Then the next news item is the year of personal genomics. So what does personal genomics means? For that, first we have to understand what is genome and everything associated with it. So genome, what does genome mean? So we have provided this here. This is the genome, the entirety of an organism's hereditary information. So that is present in the genome. What we hear of the term is genes. So genes, all genes together form the genome of a particular individual, a particular species. Then personal genome is there is a difference between individuals, each individual in the species. Each individual is unique. So that is the personal genomics. So genome is a general term. Organisms' hereditary information present in the genes. All genes together form genome. Though this is encoded, it is said, and genes are made of DNA or RNA. So it is encoded either in DNA, deoxyribonucleic acid, or RNA, ribonucleic acid. So many types of viruses have RNA, and in higher organisms it is DNA. So this genome includes both genes and the non-coding sequence of the DNA. So all that together is the genome. So where is it all located? In the nucleus, in the cell. Here you can see the genes. That is the basic unit of genetic information. So genes are located. This is a chromosome. So chromosome is the storage unit of the genes. All genes are located on these chromosomes, and the genome is the collection of the entire genetic information. And DNA is the deoxyribonucleic acid. So that contains the genetic information. So genes are made of DNA. You can see this is one particular gene. This is DNA. The double helical structure, you must have heard of this many a times if you have done a little of science. So this is the DNA. We'll look at the DNA in detail too. So this you can see is the DNA. So chromosome is made of this DNA strand, and this DNA contains the genes, and this is made of proteins. You can see here the building blocks. So this is the whole thing. So it is in the nucleus of the cell. So all entire is called the genome, entire genetic information. So this, what is the news presently about is that the DNA of a person, the various genes which are present in a person vary from person to person. So this DNA can give much more details too, like if you are a carrier of a particular type of disease, so that can be understood. If there are any health risks associated based on the genes which are present in your DNA, so that all the DNA in your genes actually, all that can be known. The drug response which you would have, that can also be understood, and effectively drugs can be provided. So this is a new development, a new area in which work is being undertaken, and that is called personal genomics. So that is what this is all about. So tests can be undertaken. So once the genome of the particular species, like for human, so there is a human genome project, we'll look at that too. So in the human genome project, the entire genes of all the genes of humans have been mapped. So that is one huge work which has been undertaken, and still there will be variations from region to region, population to population, from various communities to communities, there are variations in the genes. So those variations in the genes also have to be clearly dealt with and understood. So for that, each country also requires to take up initiative. So India is lagging behind a little in this. It has to prepare its own database of the entire genetic information on Indians as such and various communities in India. Once that is in place, then personal genomics becomes quite easier. Presently, it's a little vague. So personal genomics based on the standard genomic information of humans, then personal, your genes, what do they speak of, can be understood, and from that the various mutations which are there or various variations which are there, because of which you may be vulnerable to particular kind of diseases, can be understood and you can be informed about it. So that vulnerability to say breast cancer, so there are these mutations which have to be checked, whether a person would be vulnerable to breast cancer or not can be understood. So such tests are available in India since 2010. But of course, the rate at which these tests are undertaken is quite low presently, because this is a developing area. So your propensity to, probability that you would have diabetes, autism, spondylitis, coronary heart diseases, all these can also be understood through such personal genomic tests. So this is what is being undertaken. The point put forth in this article is that there are many countries like USA, UK, Qatar that have announced plans to undertake large projects to map genomes of their population, of the communities in their population, but Indian government has not announced any such major initiative. So there are some kinds of genetic variations which are unique to Indians, which have to be understood first, and then this personal genomics can be further amplified and can have huge potential in the health domain. So that is this news. Then the next news item, playing God. So this is regarding a discovery which took place in 2016. This is CJV1 Sync 3.0. What is this? This is a synthetic cell. So artificial cells can also be developed. There has been research undertaken in this for the last 15 years by a team led by C. Craig Venter. So finally in 2016 they announced that they have made a synthetic cell with the help of this bacteria cell, mycoplasma. So mycoplasma bacterial cell was used. So this mycoplasma is used because it's an organism in which contains the smallest number of genomes. So its genome is the smallest, and the bacterial kingdom smallest genome, and it does not have a cell wall. So it helps in better penetration into this cell, and then the variations can easily be made. So this smallest artificial genome ever created is the development which has taken place, and this is not actually completely synthetic because this was inserted into a cell and then development took place into it. So there are of course ethical concerns that if a cell can be developed artificially, a synthetic cell can actually be developed, then a man can act as God. So then he can produce the whole individual too, because cells grow and develop. So there's still a long way to go in that direction, because this is not completely synthetic. It has been, the genome has been put into the cell itself. So it is only the genome which is synthetic, and it was put into a naturally occurring cell and it developed further. So there are chances that complete synthetic cell can also be developed. So there will be many benefits because of this too, because if synthetic cells can so be developed and the genetic information can be placed as required in them, then based on that we can have various enzymes produced which can help in degrading plastic at much faster rate, so that waste can also be eliminated. The huge problem of waste in the country and worldwide too can be taken care of. Artificial cells can be developed which can have particular specific information. So if there is a requirement of providing more oxygen, then insoluble hemoglobin can be mobilized through this genetic information and can be made available. There are huge number of developments which can take place. So you are playing with the genetic information and you have whatever you want. So agriculture also, it is possible that crop resistance against drought and pests can also be developed. Additional nutrition can be provided. So it's whole system in your hand if this is possible. So this is the first step, an initial step taken in this direction, that a synthetic genome has been formed. That is this name, JCV1 Sync 3.0. So this we saw what is genome, gene. This also we saw what the DNA says about you. This is regarding the DNA strand. So these are the 4 constituents which are there: adenine, thymine, guanine, cytosine. So how they are arranged decides the genetic code. So this genetic code rearrangement can take place and a synthetic genome can be formed. So that was the development which took place. And this is regarding the Human Genome Project, which was started in 2003, which was ended in 2003 after 13 years of efforts to map the entire sequence of the human genome. That what are the various genes, and each gene, what, where are they located and what is it all about. So there's further development of course required to clearly understand the function of each of the genes. So there is more to go in this matter, but this mapping of the human genome has already taken place. It has been announced complete in 2003. So all genes, entire genome, all the genes have been mapped. Where are they located? Then the next news item is British Indian knighted in New Year's honors. So this is Shankar Balasubramaniam, an Indian origin British professor of chemistry who has been knighted presently because he is the co-inventor in this next generation DNA sequencing. What is DNA sequencing? We'll talk of. This technique is called Solexa sequencing, which he co-invented, for which he has been knighted. So DNA sequencing, till now we understood the genome, the gene, the chromosomes which contain the genes, and the genes made up of DNA. So this DNA needs to be sequenced. So you come down, finally breakdown is on DNA. So the DNA which is there, DNA needs to be sequenced for each individual to make a clear study of the DNA and understand the variations. So first step was genetic mapping. So Human Genome Project did the mapping of the genes, that where are the genes located. A map is the location. So where are the genes located, what are they for, that was understood. Then there's a need for genetic sequencing. So this DNA sequencing is that sequencing of the DNA takes place, that where are these DNA within the DNA, where is this information located, what are the variations, and on an individual basis when a study is made, then further medical analysis can be done on the basis of that. So this individual DNA sequencing is undertaken, which earlier was very much time consuming and very costly affair. So it took years for DNA sequencing and also cost billions of dollars. And this Solexa sequencing, which has been developed presently, it happens in a day or two, and it costs less than £1,000. So this is a huge development which has taken place, for which he has been felicitated. This is DNA sequencing, you can see. So ultimate characterization of genes or fragments of DNA. So that is DNA sequencing. Then the next news item is, what is mega maser? So mega maser is cousin of laser. So what is laser? Laser is what we know. This normal light waves, they move in all directions. So when a laser is used, so this is monochromatic light. So they have all waves have the same wavelength. So they move, they are coherent. They are unidirectional. They are all together, parallel and non-diverging. So that travels a huge distance, so that is laser waves. So normal light waves can be converted into laser waves by this setup, this 100% reflective mirror, and this less than 100, 95 to 99% reflective mirror, when this light is amplified through this. So light amplification by stimulated emission of radiation, that is the acronym laser stands for this. So this helps in laser light being produced. So this laser, another term which is used presently here is maser. So maser, instead of light waves, if it is in the microwave region, the waves are in the microwave region, then it is called maser. So mega masers have been detected. They can be naturally occurring too and can be produced artificially in the labs also. So presently naturally occurring mega masers, which are found in galaxies, even in Milky Way it is found. So these have been detected. So the Hubble Space Telescope in late 2016, it found mega maser, that is around 100 million times brighter than the masers found in our galaxy, the Milky Way. So that has been detected. So that is the term here, mega maser, which is explained. Then the next news item is, grateful for shift in India's position, says Israel envoy. So with Israel, what has been in news presently is the UN Security Council resolution which has been passed. This is UN Security Resolution 2334, in which the settlements in the West Bank and East Jerusalem by Israel have been called illegal. So this has been allowed because USA did not veto this resolution this time. It has been vetoing resolutions against Israel for quite some time. But presently in his last few days in office, President of USA Barack Obama has decided that this UN Security Council resolution against Israel will not be vetoed, and that is the reason why on its abstention, means not voting by USA, all 14 countries voted in favor of the resolution against Israel, and this was passed. So this will have implications for Israel with respect to the International Criminal Court case which is going on, ICC case. So the thing is that India's position in Security Council, presently India is not a member. So presently UNSC has 15 members, 5 are permanent and remaining 10 are other representatives from various continents, but India is not a member. But even in UN General Assembly, which is much larger body than Security Council, in which all countries have their representatives, in UN General Assembly to even in UN Human Rights Council, UNESCO, United Nations Educational and Scientific and Cultural Organization, and such organizations, UN organizations too, India has many a times voted in favor of Israel. So that is being appreciated presently. So this we have seen the shift in stance with the present BJP government in power in India, and they say that we have been balancing our approach because we have also voted in favor of Palestine in many cases and also voted in favor of Israel in many cases too. So we are having a balanced approach presently is what India's perspective is. But Israeli government, Israeli ambassador is acknowledging India's shift towards Israel. So that is the point put forth. They say that they also understand India's position and they have always supported Palestinian cause, the Arab cause, and they want to pursue good relations with Israel as well. So Israel understands that, and it understands that it is not a zero-sum game. So zero-sum game, basically must have heard of this term quite often in news and in other scenarios too. So zero-sum means plus and minus become zero. So plus, if I am gaining, you are losing. So in a scenario when there are multiple entities, somebody's loss is another person's gain. So if I am getting plus 5, you're losing minus 5. So plus 5 minus 5 becomes 0. The sum is 0. Finally it's 0. So that is zero sum game. But if what is being said right now is that it is not a zero sum game. So not a zero sum game means it is possible that all of us gain with nobody losing. It is possible that I gain a lot without you losing anything. So that understanding is what is required for coming forth with a solution. So that is the point put forth by Israeli ambassador, that this is not a zero sum game. So we appreciate India's inclination towards Israel as well. So this it's put forth. See, in October 2016, India changed its vote at UNESCO. So UNESCO headquarters is in Paris. So it had abstained from the resolution critical to Israel later. So that change which took place was pro-Israel. So that has been appreciated. So then the next news item is Pakistan to hand over dossier on India to new UN chief. So the new United Secretary General Antonio Guterres, who will be taking over from Ban Ki-moon presently in Jan, the first thing which will come forth before him will be Pakistan dossier on Indian spy Kulbhushan Jadhav. So they say that he is an Indian Navy officer, but they call him an agent of RAW, the Intelligence Agency of India, Research and Analysis Wing. So this is the allegation made by Pakistan, and they say we have proof and we'll put forth the entire dossier before UN Secretary General. That how India is trying to intrude into Pakistan territory, into supporting, interfering in the matters in Balochistan, FATA, federally administered tribal area, in Karachi region in Pakistan. So the way India makes allegations, Pakistan is making counter allegations, and this arrest actually took place quite early. So this capture was announced in March 2016, and then after that till the end of 2017 they were not able to provide enough evidence. So that resulted in huge furor within Pakistan as well. Population asking, why is the government taking so long to bring in proof and take it internationally, the matter internationally. So this is the whole thing. So now they say we have all the evidence in place and they have put before the UN Security Council. So UN Secretary General. So we'll wait and watch what further action, if any, will be taken, because earlier too, when Pakistan had put forth such allegations, these were rejected by the UN chief Ban Ki-moon. So this was there. The new UN chief was informed. This was regarding the Indian submarine, which Pakistan claimed that it has entered into Pakistani waters, and this was the time when Pakistan-China joint naval exercise was taking place in the CPEC, China-Pakistan Economic Corridor region in Gwadar. So during those times such allegations were made, but then the UN Secretary General did not take any action on that matter. So there was nothing which happened. So we'll have to see if something happens in this case right now. So what Pakistan is trying to do is internationalize the conflict between India and Pakistan, which India doesn't want to. So we'll see how UN handles this scenario too. Then the next news item is regarding US-Pakistan relations. So this is US imposes trade restrictions on 7 Pakistan entities. So there are 7 Pakistan organizations, state-owned, privately owned, which have been put under restriction category. So it is presumption of denial. So this is on trade, on sensitive technology items trade. So in such trade relations, if these organizations are involved, which are on presumption of denial, means the organization, which is US Department of State, Defense and Commerce, which will look into such requests which will come forth for such technology transfers. So they will be looked at with presumption of denial. That means you have presumably it will be denied. So in the worst case scenario, in a least probability that it would be accepted. So all these 7 entities are linked to Pakistan's missile program. USA has not put forth what is the reason why they have been put under presumption of denial category, because Pakistan is a major non-NATO ally of USA, and technology transfer, highly sensitive technology transfer, is also allowed. It is qualified for that because of this status as a major non-NATO ally. But presently these organizations have been put under presumption of denial category. So this is a major development in US-Pakistan relations to presently. Then, the one statement which is made here is that the potential proliferation of highly sensitive technologies from Pakistan has been a lingering concern for the US, aggravated by the rise in global terrorism. So Pakistan as a hub for terrorism is in some way, which is what India claims, is justified by this action of USA too, that they have such fears that proliferation is taking place of these technologies from Pakistan and is falling in the hands of terrorists too, because of which such stern actions are required. Then the next news item is China bans ivory trade, nature groups thrilled. So ivory, which comes from the tusks of the elephants, that has been banned for all commercial purposes in China by the end of 2017. So this is an announcement which has been made. So this will help in safeguarding the endangered elephant species in Africa, because in Africa elephants are killed and the ivory tusks are taken because it has a huge demand, and the huge market for this ivory is in China. So it is used for even products which are developed, artifacts, handicrafts which are developed from this. So ivory is called white gold, and also collectors call it organic gemstone. So it is very much in demand in Chinese market, and if China puts in this ban, it will help in ending the poaching of elephants which takes place in Africa. Then the next news item is rupees 3 lakh crore plan afoot to double airport capacity. So airport capacity needs to be doubled in India in the next 10-15 years, and for that we require 3 lakh crore. So a huge amount of investment is required in this matter. So we need both greenfield and brownfield airports. Greenfield airports means airports in a new location from scratch, means huge amount of land is required for that, and then building upon that. That is called a greenfield project. And a brownfield project is a project which is already in place, means there is in case of airports, there is an airport already in place and it is further expanded and developed and given more capacity. The capacity is enhanced. So that is a brownfield project. So both will be required in India, and initiatives are being taken on this matter. The Airport Authority of India, it manages around 125 airports, out of which only 69 airports receive commercial flights. So here also huge expansion is possible, which will take place. Plus the National Civil Aviation Policy of 2016, which has been announced presently. In that also Airport Economic Regulatory Authority has been established, which will initiate the process of abandoning the single till approach. So there are these two approaches, single till approach and hybrid till approach. So what this NACP policy of 2016 has announced is that it will be, the shift would be towards hybrid till approach. What is the difference between the two? We'll understand. In 4 airports actually, Mumbai, Bangalore, Delhi and Hyderabad, we have shared till model in place presently. But in general, all over it is single till model which is followed. So what is this basically all about is the aeronautical costs and aeronautical revenues and non-aeronautical revenues are two parts in an airport structure. So aeronautical is with respect to the flights, whatever flight related charges are there, costs involved, and the revenues generated is that. Plus non-aeronautical are related to, here you can see, food and beverages, which you have, duty-free shopping, advertising, car parking, hotels in the airport. So those are all non-aeronautical revenues. So in non-aeronautical revenues, only 30% of this would be included in the calculation of IRR, internal rate of return. Now what is this internal rate of return? Is the balancing rate, means how much is put in and how much is coming out. So in cash inflow is what is the cash inflow and what is the cash outflow. So the net value, that has to be balanced. So the rate which is required, the rate of return which is required, interest rate which is required to balance the two is called internal rate of return. So this shows how viable or how attractive the investment is, that how much would be going in and how much would be coming out. So in this internal rate of return, actually in hybrid till model, only 30% of non-aeronautical revenues will be included. Remaining 70% will not be included in this calculation because they will be retained by the airport, that all payment which is coming, all revenue which is coming to the airports through non-aeronautical functioning, 70% of that can be used by it for its airport development. So that will be retained for that. So then whatever internal rate of return would be there, that will be made more, and that more has to be balanced, and that balancing will be done through charging fees from the passengers, and that is called user development fee. So these charges would become high because this revenue is already retained, 70% is already retained by the airports. So this is another aspect to it. But why is this being done? Because then it becomes attractive for the investors to invest in airports, because they can retain 70%, entire is not taken in the calculation of internal rate of return. So that is the whole idea. In single till model, all aeronautical, non-aeronautical revenues, everything is taken into consideration when IRR is calculated. So that is the difference, and that is what NCAP, National Civil Aviation Policy of 2016 is promoting, shifting to hybrid till. So of course there's the other side to it too. One is attracting investment and another is passengers have to pay more. So of course in this case, in this aspect, it is attracting investment which is the reason towards which the government is tilting. So this is, you can see, IRR and net present value again discussed. So internal rate of return, the discount rate which equates the sum of the present values of all cash inflows to the sum of the present values of all cash outflows. So this balancing rate is called internal rate of return, so that the two become zero. So this internal rate of return will be funded through passengers. Then the next news item is mergers and acquisitions to be favored route for FDI in 2017. So foreign direct investment in India has been quite good in the year 2016. It has brought in high amount of greenfield FDI as well. So first time India was the global leader for FDI in 2015. It overtook even USA and China. So this is a huge development. Also the largest FDI which we got, largest inbound FDI coming to India was from Russia. Consortium headed by Russian state-owned oil giant Rosneft. They acquired SR Oil's refining and retail assets. That was a huge investment, inbound FDI coming in. Then other matters with respect to FDIs is even Make in India initiative. So Make in India initiative was launched in September 2014, and the Indian government wants to promote India as a manufacturing hub to attract investments. That you come in and make in India. The way China has been the manufacturing hub, we want to replicate that. So the Indian government's initiative was also the one which wanted to attract FDI, but how successful has it been? There is divergent views coming from the government and from the experts in the field. But anyway, this is one initiative which needs to be further promoted and strengthened. Then another is regarding indirect share transfer norms. So share transfer which takes place in which Indian assets and businesses are involved, if there are indirect share transfers, means share transfers with respect to an Indian entity but taking place offshore, outside India. So on that, how taxation would take place, all that has been brought into the tax net, but government has given exemption to small investments which are less than 5%, which are holding less than 5% and without any managerial control, then such share transfers are allowed. So this again, here there are more relaxations which are demanded by the investors. So these are the issues. which we'll see. But the mergers and acquisitions, it is said, will be the favored route because many areas are seeing a cash crunch. So many sectors like e-commerce, telecommunication, there's a need for consolidating assets. So mergers and acquisitions will be the way through which FDI would come into India in 2017. That is a statement being made presently in these reports. Then the next news item is IT challenges to remain in 2017. So this is IT, information technologies sector in India, which is being challenged presently because of protectionism and nationalism, protectionism in various countries like USA and UK majorly, where we are seeing that UK, the Brexit again is an initiative pro-protectionism, that they do not want outside entities to come in and live in their country, do business in their country. So how favored would Indian IT sector be, which is well established in UK, is a question. Also in USA with incumbent President-elect Donald Trump now, who will soon take office. How will he have his policy towards IT sector, which is well established in USA, is again being looked at. How will the developments take place? But then it is said that Indian IT sector will be able to brave through this storm as well. Though protectionism is on a high, the protectionism wave is flowing through the developed world, but Indian IT sector will have to face these challenges. But the sector, NASSCOM, is also optimistic that we will be able to have long-term opportunities emerging out of this as well. So this is there. Other aspects apart from this protectionism, other aspects which are challenging the IT sector are new technologies like cloud and Internet of Things. So because of this, everything comes connected and comes closer. So then presence, physical presence in those places, whether it is required, how would it be? So all those are also challenges of how IT sector also functions. So Internet of Things is one thing which comes often in news. So just taking a look at it once again too. You can see here, this is Internet of Things, that everything is connected through the internet, through Wi-Fi. So all your instruments, gadgets are connected to the internet, and through that they are connected and can be controlled remotely. So alarm clocks, burglar alarms connected through Wi-Fi, through a computer system, you can control them. CCTV cameras you can look at, or security alarms, your phones, even today you have light bulbs, all these, everything linked through the internet and you having a control in one place. So this remote control also, which is possible, this has huge potential too, that all things, it's like Internet of Things is like things can communicate with each other, that your laptop can communicate with your phone or something like that. Like photo sharing also on a smaller scale, you can see that photo sharing, then you syncing which takes place, is like the two entities talking. So that is Internet of Things, communication and interconnection between huge number of commodities. So this is one aspect which is on a high presently. But then there are security questions too, about if any security lacuna in one place can bring the whole thing to a stall too. So of course security is a huge concern. Taking that into consideration, this has huge potential as well. So this is one aspect. Also we are having even Indian IT sector, apart from this challenge, also the positive developments which they have undertaken too, because in protectionism what is required is that if these companies are established in offshore foreign countries like USA and UK, they provide employment opportunities over there as well. So there is a huge economy generation, job opportunities generation in these countries as well, where the locals are also taken in, the nationals of that country are taken in. So in that case, again, it is true that the companies itself cannot be considered in the negative light. So maybe there will be some change in rules and the companies would have to strive through that. And another aspect is the companies, IT sector companies, facing challenges from startups. So rather than taking that as a challenge too, we are seeing that many IT companies themselves are harboring startups. They are funding startups. There is a corporate venture capital fund which has developed. So that is an example given of Infosys and Wipro. They have dedicated corporate venture capital funds and they invest in startups. So this is also positive development. That is how we can see that Indian IT sector can pass through this phase of challenges as well. And of course, India's market share continues to be 7% of the global software and IT services spent, and 57% of global IT services is outsourced to India. So we are a major region where IT services are outsourced globally. So these are the points put forth. So that is it. These were the Sunday news items. So Sunday is generally a little heavy. There are a lot number of news items which we need to cover. Plus, apart from that, other thing which needs to be spoken about is, so we have reached the end of 1st Jan's news, which is gone quite high. But finally, I would like to say thank you for all the concerns which have been raised about the health and other aspects. Everything's fine. The only thing is that coping up with the requirements, the diverse requirements, I should say, of the huge following which is there for the videos, it was not possible to cope with all such demands and requests as well. Some have been demanding, some have been requesting, but then it is not the way it is a free initiative which has been started off, and we are trying to give you the best, and this doing the best takes some time. What I found missing was some patience. So the patience which made me realize that I can't cope with it. So when I couldn't cope with it, I thought, what should be the next step? How should I go ahead with it? Because it becomes a huge burden on me and I could not go ahead the way it was demanded. So I realized that I am going against a point which I have been putting forth to all aspirants throughout, that never take up things which are beyond your capacity. Because what UPSC demands and what civil services demands is that you follow a pace which you can take it till the end. Like studying for 16 hours a day. If anybody is making such a claim, how many days can you study for 16 hours? That can be done only for say a week or 15 days, or how much. It can't go on for long, and UPSC preparation requires it. The entire exam process itself is for a year, and it requires, I should say, at least 6 months or a year in advance that you start preparing for the exam. So if that is the amount of time which you're putting in, then 16 hours a day is not sustainable. So same way, 16 hours a day, or thinking that you can do everything, you can do this aspect too, you can do multiple books for the same subject, you can do multiple newspapers for current affairs, that is not feasible. So please don't undertake things which are beyond your capacity. The mistake which I committed was that. So now I have realized what we would be providing is what is within our capacity. So that is one thing. Of course, I understood the importance of these videos for the students. So this initiative would be continued. Only if there are delays, please bear with us. But we'll try to provide you the news earliest possible. So we'll be working on that too. Yes, this is a free initiative and we plan to keep it a free initiative. But what we request from the followers of these videos is some patience, some faith in the institute, and please, we can't respond to the kind of negative comments which are put forth questioning the authenticity of the institute and of the teaching, and whether a teacher should sell her teaching, whether I should be doing this for free and I should not be charging anything. Nobody else is to decide that. That would be decided by me, by the institute, whatever would be decided. But presently, yes, this is the initiative which we have started and we are planning to continue with it. So starting the new year on a happy note, wishing you all a very, very happy new year. Happy studying. Best of luck. Thank you.